Hi, I'm Caden here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 17 predictions. Man, are we close to the end of the season? Only 2 more weeks left, including this one. But before we jump into the predictions for this week, just a quick update on Cal and I's head-to-head pick'em game. For what may be the first time this whole year, we actually tied this week, both putting up 9 points, putting me with a total of 161 and Callan with a total of 174. So he keeps that 13-point double-digit lead on me. So he's pretty much already won the regular season, unless he has just an astronomical collapse. But I still do have the whole playoffs for that comeback. So I just got to keep the head to the grindstone and keep working. But let's see if I can start to bridge that gap here in this week, starting with the Thursday night football game of the New York Jets heading to Cleveland to take on Joe Flacco and the Browns. And we are both going with Joe. We both agree, both have the Browns in this one. The fact that I am this confident in Joe Flacco is terrible. And that's not even saying I'm overly confident in him. But Callan can vouch that I'm usually, for whatever reason, very anti-Joe Flacco. But I must say, he has just been absolutely killing it recently. He has had some sort of revival in his career, some sort of click, some sort of gears turning with this Cleveland offense and Kevin Stefanski. I don't know what it is, but it sure is working for him. That Jets offense just continues to play subpar football, and now they're going against probably the second best defense in the league, very arguably right behind the Jets here. So I don't see the Jets putting up many points at all, and I see the Browns putting up just enough points to win. Give me a double single-digit game here. Give me like a 7-3 win for the Browns.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one to watch there. Definitely be a defensive battle. I like the Browns in this one because, well, the Jets are just the Jets this year. They just have troubles all around. They jumped out to a 28-point lead last week and almost blew it. That wasn't talked about enough, I feel like, in the NFL world. And the Jets are again starting Trevor Siemian, as Zach Wilson was not able to clear concussion protocol yet again this week. So he must have a pretty bad concussion after being very hyped to come back and be the starter again. But I like the Browns in this one because really the Browns defense, I think, will shut down that Jets offense, and Joe Flacco will do just enough to get the Browns enough points to outscore the Jets. And Flacco had another outstanding game last week where he had multiple touchdowns, and I believe, did he have 300 yards?
I think he hit 300 again.
He hit 300 again. And if you had told me at the beginning of this year that Joe Flacco was leading the Browns into the playoffs, I just wouldn't have believed it. Would not at all have believed it. I would have wondered what happened to PJ Walker and DTR because Joe Flacco was a free agent to start this season. So he was picked up mid-season to start this run. And maybe that's the key to his reemergence is to pick him up mid-season and not let him go through training camp and let him sit home for a while and be excited to come and work for a playoff caliber team. So we'll have to see if the Browns are able to hold this one down, and I think that they will be able to secure a win against the Jets here.
Yeah, the craziest part is if it's not for the Ravens being as dominant as they have been as of late, the Cleveland Browns are not only winning their division, they are fighting for a 1 seed with Joe Flacco as their quarterback, just based off of record. So absolute insanity right there.
2012 Joe Flacco all over.
Oh my God, it's just crazy. He's got the defense for it again, that's for sure. So now moving on to Saturday Night Football, which will be replacing Monday Night Football this week, as Monday night is not only New Year's, but also has all of the college bowl games and the 2 semifinal games for college football. So no Monday Night Football this week, but Saturday Night Football with the Detroit Lions heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys in a high seed NFC matchup here. And we split here. Callan has the Cowboys in this one. I have the Lions. I think that the Lions are going to be so hyped going into this game. They just beat the Vikings last week, which made them the NFC North division winner for the first time ever, and a division winner overall for the first time since 1993. And Dan Campbell does not seem like a guy to be content after a win like that. He seems like a guy that, if anything, is going to come out the next week and play 5 times harder because they locked that in. I think that they're crazy. I think they want the 1 seed. They just watched the Niners get absolutely stomped by the Ravens last week. They want the 1 seed. They want to keep winning. They know they have a Week 18 matchup with the Minnesota Vikings, who, as a Vikings fan, I will admit, are not doing too hot right now. So they can see that they can see the possibility. They could see it happening. They're going to fight hard, and they're going to pick up a win against this hot and cold Dallas Cowboys team.
Definitely a hot and cold team, but I think the Cowboys are on a hot streak here because they are a different team at home. At home, they are scoring almost 40 points per game, which I believe would be an NFL record for points per game at home if they end the season like that. It's not quite 40. I think it's like 38.5, but still pretty darn close.
A lot of points.
It's a lot of points. And because of that, I think that they're going to be able to outscore the Lions. The Lions offense is, though high powered, I don't think it's high powered enough to match that Dallas Cowboys offense when it gets on a roll. The Detroit Lions are more of a running team. They do have Amon-Ra St. Brown and a nice passing game, but I just don't see them scoring as many points as the Cowboys this week, especially with them being more of a running team. I think the Cowboys and Dak Prescott has a chance to reconfirm that top MVP slot if he goes out there and plays well. He didn't play as well last week, but I still think that if he goes out and has a big game against these Detroit Lions, he can take over that MVP spot because of Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy's recent struggles.
Yeah, a lot rides on the Lions being able to get a lead here and control that run game, definitely. Now, moving quite a bit down the list, we have a matchup in the NFC again with the San Francisco 49ers going to Washington to take on the Commanders. And a split here. Callan has the Niners, and I have the Commanders marked as my upset. Now, the only other time the Niners have lost a game after a multiple game win streak this year was against the Cleveland Browns, which then led to them losing 2 more straight games against the Minnesota Vikings and Cincinnati Bengals. So they've shown that they are a very good team, and sometimes the best teams struggle after a loss just because you almost get used to that winning that it's hard to bounce back the next week after a loss. And the Commanders just came so close to an amazing upset against the New York Jets last week. I think they're going to have a little bit of a fire lit under their ass. I'll be interested to see how they play Jacoby Brissett versus Sam Howell. Sam Howell didn't have a great week last week, and then Jacoby Brissett came in and dropped, I want to say, 3 touchdowns and almost had a comeback win for the Commanders. So it'll be interesting to see if they throw Brissett out there right off the bat or give Howell another chance against this really good Niners defense. Very interesting to see what happens there. But nonetheless, the Commies have been so close in so many games this year against pretty decent teams that I think one of these they're going to pull out, and I see it happening here against the Niners.
That definitely could be. The Niners could overlook this team with a divisional matchup against the Rams following next week. But I think the Niners are just too good and too talented to let this be a letdown for them. That defense is still one of the top defenses in the NFL, even though they did fall from the top ranks after the Baltimore game. But the key here is going to be the 49ers offense and what Brock Purdy is able to do against that weak Commanders defense that continues to allow almost 30 points a game. So because of that, I think the Niners are going to score more points than the Commies. It's just going to be too much for the Commanders to overcome that Brock Purdy-led offense. Now, if it is Brock Purdy-led, he did leave last game with a stinger injury, but I believe Sam Darnold is still capable enough with those weapons around the 49ers. And they will be likely without Trent Williams again, which is another thing to watch for, because that's what spearheaded their last losing streak, was having Trent Williams gone and having to reshuffle that offensive line. And they were a much different team with a reshuffled offensive line.
Feeling confident even with Darnold at quarterback.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
The Commanders are just allowing way too many points.
That's for sure. They are in a cluster right now. Now moving on to our game of the week, we have an AFC matchup now with the Miami Dolphins heading to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. And we agree again in this one. We both have the Ravens. This one is really offense versus offense. They both have decent defenses, but all the lights are going to be on these two offenses. It is pure speed at the quarterback position versus pure speed at pretty much every other position on the field with the Miami Dolphins. They truly are the track team, but they have shown that they can go against some good teams and win in this league. They've shown it a couple of times this year. So why not go against the current number one seed in the AFC in kind of a prove it game and go out there and pick up a win on the road? That'd be awesome for them. There's a lot of good stuff and good momentum going their way. But there's also much better momentum going the Baltimore Ravens' way. They have a home game this week after going on the road and taking out the top team in the NFC last week, pretty much dismantling the 49ers if you really want to talk about it. It was a very good win by the Ravens, and I think they continue that hot streak. I think they solidify themselves as the one seed in the AFC and pick up a win at home here.
Yeah, I like the Ravens in this one too. The Baltimore defense has taken over the top ranks as the top defense, tops in scoring defense and yards per game allowed. So they are one of the better defenses in the NFL. It'll be interesting to see if they are able to shut down the Dolphins at all in that high-powered offense of theirs. The key here will be if they let Tyreek go, and if they let Tyreek go and let him score, boy, watch out. This could be an upset here. But I like the Ravens in this one because of Lamar Jackson, who has continued to prove that he is an MVP caliber candidate. He doesn't have the top numbers that Purdy does, but just the impact on the game that he makes, just his presence alone, his scramble ability, his ability to break out of sacks, and his ability to just lead that team downfield and score points, whether it's field goals from Justin Tucker or touchdowns to one of their top wide receivers. And I think because of that, the Ravens will be able to outscore the Dolphins, and it'll become a shell shock for the Dolphins.
Yep, I like that. And then next up, we have another AFC matchup, with the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs in a little bit of a non-divisional rivalry game here. And we split again. I have the Chiefs in this one, but Callan has the Bengals marked as his upset.
Yep, I like the Bengals to go into Arrowhead and upset the Chiefs again, where the Chiefs offense has just been out of sync and the Bengals defense has been clicking. So because of that, I think the Bengals are able to shut down the Chiefs offense, who continue to have stupid penalties, and we'll see how many stupid penalties and drops they have this week, because it really has been affecting them recently. Jake Browning had a bad game last week, and I think that he bounces back with a top performance this week after throwing 3 interceptions last week. It was not a good week for him, and I think that he's able to bounce back and have a big game against this Chiefs defense.
I feel like every year we get some of the same headlines. We get, are the Chiefs finally gone? They're getting worse. What a terrible performance by the Chiefs. Are they still as dominant? And every year those come up because they're very warranted. I'm not saying they shouldn't happen. The Chiefs play terrible and they come up. But it seems when you start to see those headlines really peak and when it gets bad for the Chiefs is when they turn it around each and every year. So I think that they come out here, they go back home, they get back in their own element, and they go back to the basics and kind of just focus on those small things. Because as you said, those things that shoot yourselves in the foot are definitely can be the worst thing for you, absolutely tear you apart, but they're also one of the easiest things to fix. Drops, stupid little penalties like false start and offsides, all can get very easily washed away by a good focused week at practice, and very helpful when it's a home game compared to having to go on the road. So I think that they really tighten up some of those things and they go out here and kind of play like the Chiefs should play. I do see this game being relatively close. I don't see it just being an absolutely domination by the Chiefs, but nonetheless, I see the Chiefs picking up a win here. And then finally, we have what is the true game of the week. We all know it is. We have the Green Bay Packers heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings in what truly is a playoff elimination game for these two teams. And we, of course, split. Callan has the Packers, I have the Vikings, and we both have them marked as our lock. Huge game here for, of course, both of these teams, as well as our head-to-head pick'em game. But I have the Vikings in this one because I am sticking with them through the thick and the thin. They are very beat up right now. Wanham and Addison both left the game last week and are kind of a toss-up for this week. TJ Hawkinson will miss this game and any other games we play this year with an ACL and MCL tear. So we have our backs against the wall, to say the least. Mullins and Dobbs are pretty much the same situation in two very different play styles. Both are able to drive down the field sometimes, but are just back-breaking with stupid interceptions and fumbles left and right. So it's a bad situation for the Vikings. I'm not going to act like it's looking really good right now, because even with the home game, the Packers have been a little bit on a roll recently. I mean, if we can just get them to play some prevent defense, I think we're golden. Hopefully they just come out and play prevent the whole game, because then we're golden. I hope that happens. We're going to be great. But I think that the X factor here is going to be the X factor that he is every time, and it's going to be Justin Jefferson. His game against the Packers earlier this year was totally cut off by injury. So why not go out there and put up the game he usually does against the Packers ×2, just absolutely make up for not being able to play at full bore against the Packers last time. Give me 300 yards by Justin Jefferson, all by Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins is finally going to get it together. He'll probably have 1 or 2 picks just because he's shown that he apparently can't play a game without at least 1 or 2 picks. But I think Justin Jefferson is going to carry him and the Vikings as a whole to the promised land.
Well, Justin Jefferson does like beating the Packers. He has some of his standout games against Green Bay. But I think that the real issue, or the real X factor here is going to be the winner of the turnover battle. And whoever has the most turnovers might be the loser of this game, as Jordan Love has been prone to go on pick throwing streaks. So it has happened before. And as we know, Mullins is guilty of the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see who wins the turnover battle. I think that'll be the key to the game. Because the Vikings are beat up, the Packers are almost more healthy than the Vikings now compared to last time's matchup. The Packers are getting more healthy with getting Aaron Jones back last week and A.J. Dillon, and that was a big key to their win last week, as Aaron Jones proved that he's still one of the top premier backs in the league. And I think that he proves it again this week with another big game from him after showing about how much of a weakness the Vikings had against the run game last week against Detroit. The run game for the Packers should be able to pick up right where Detroit left off, I feel like. And another big star here to look for is Jordan Love and how well he does. If he's able to throw together a few touchdown passes and keep the turnovers to a minimum, I like the Packers here in a big upset victory over the Vikings.
I agree. I think that the turnover differential could definitely be a decider in who wins and loses. I think that the Packers should just rule out Aaron Jones out of fairness. Vikings lose TJ Hawkinson, Packers can't have Aaron Jones. Probably just my opinion, but
We'll probably won't have Watson.
Okay, I'll take it, I guess. Actually, with our luck, this will be the week he comes back 100%. But nonetheless, we'll see how the game goes. It's going to be a great game either way.
And did you know that Jordan Love is the only quarterback with multiple touchdown games and no interceptions?
Really?
Yep, 7 of them.
Yeah, because I guess even the marquee quarterbacks in the league this year have kind of been struggling with your Allen and Mahomes and Hurts.
Yep, they've all been throwing picks, and Jordan Love, well, when he throws picks, we just throw a lot of them. But
I was going to say, he's just a true roller coaster. It's all or nothing with him. So as a Vikings fan, let's root for nothing. But that was our NFL Week 17 predictions. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned until next week when we give our final week of the regular season predictions. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.